And good morning. Welcome to yet another episode of Cloud Chats. I don't know if that's like YAML, but it might be like YAML. It is November 11th, 2021. This is episode 37 titled Denoflare, New Load Balancers and a GIL-less Python. And I have to add that upward inflection question to it. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Or good afternoon, or good evening.
Yes.
Tell us where you're from. There you go. Answer that. There's the first question. Yeah.
That's a great way, because every day I'm going to say good morning because my brain cannot comprehend the fact that it might not be 10 o'clock somewhere else right now. But yes, tell us where you're from in the chat, and we will give you a shout out.
You see, you've said that now, and my brain has instantly just gone, I hate time zones.
Yes. Well, of course, it's the perfect place to start. Like, all time zones are bad. So, morning, Sabin. Good to see you again. Morning, Tech.
Or good afternoon.
Yeah. Or God, Matt. Okay, when I say morning, you can s/replace morning with wherever you are in the world. Text here from Bhutan.
Bhutan, where's that in the world? Where is that a morning or afternoon place currently?
I'm gonna have to Google it. Like, where
Texas.
are we at?
I could do that one. Tuna Captain. Good morning.
Bhutan is in South Asia, so I'm going to assume that's evening, like, because
like
you're
good evening, yeah, because I'm afternoon.
It's north of Bangladesh, west of Nepal. Okay, so think northeast of India. Okay, cool. What do you know? That's cool. Yeah. So much of the world I want to see, and now I have a new place.
So I've got Robert in chat here saying hello from Missouri. So good morning. Leonardo from the Netherlands. She's just gone 5, so an hour ahead of me. So good evening.
Just gone 5, so they just changed their time zone.
Psychonaut from Cape Town. So good afternoon. Probably also an hour. No, you could probably also an hour ahead of UTC, I would guess.
Okay, where's Cape Town? Y'all are all from places. That's South Africa. Okay.
So I imagine they're 1 hour ahead or 2 hours ahead. So good afternoon, good evening.
For some reason, I was thinking Australia, but it might be because of Toon Army's next comment. So, and then Joe's
from Long Island.
From Long Island. Okay, so our Hello World question this morning: Would you go to space? Where to? Tell us in chat. So, Matt, I think we know the answer for this for you, but if you were given the opportunity to go into space, would you?
I think so. I say that hesitantly. If I was going to go to space, I want to go to space properly. So I don't want to do like Virgin Galactic or Blue Origin, which just cross the Kármán line and come back to get the astronaut status.
Yeah, that feels kind of cheaty.
Yeah, I'd like actually want to probably go to space, do an orbit, or go to the International Space Station, or go beyond that. I think, like, either don't do it or do it properly. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like at least traveling to the space station nowadays is, frankly, pretty safe and uneventful. Like, we'll talk about it later, but Crew 3 launched last night, and it wasn't even an exciting event in my mind anymore because it's just so routine.
Oh my goodness! You when you say routine in space travel, it means we're definitely making forward progress.
Yeah, there you go. Let us know in chat.
I would like to go to space. Now, would I actually do it? I don't know. I have that seems terrifying. Like I would not be on the first ship.
Yeah.
Like it would be a lot. And like, you know, when they say if you go to Mars, it's a one-way trip. I don't know if I would ever, maybe at like the end of my life, if I knew that it was comfortable, I'll go die on another planet.
Yeah, I feel like the moon will become accessible within our lifetimes. Not sure about Mars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also agree. Like, I think it's one of those things where you say yes now, but if the opportunity was actually presented, would you say yes? I think they're two very different things.
That is really different. Toon Army Captain says he would absolutely go to space, where he doesn't really care as long as it's more than a cup of coffee. He also says he'd want to run around another solid body.
Yeah.
If his wife would let him, though. Different question. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Would my loved ones allow me to go to space? I don't know. You know. D is coming in from the Philippines. Hello.
Hello.
Everyone else in chat, would you go to space? And where? Would you go to Mars? Would you go to the moon? Like,
depends on. Curious. Yeah, I don't know.
Would be interesting. I think I would do the moon. The moon feels safe. Like I know it's not true, but I feel like I could jump off the moon and get back to Earth. Like just whee.
But I mean, like also we've done the moon before. Like we did it many years ago, and it was safe then. And we're HLS is on its way to being completed, which is Starship, which is just a whole new level of technology above the Apollo missions. So yeah, it's Sabin says staying ISS would be interesting. Yeah, I guess that would be kind of cool. The moon's interesting, and I guess it would be like a tourist attraction, but it would at the same time, if I wanted to go see a desolate wasteland with nothing in it, I'd just go to West Texas. Like those of you that are here from in the Texas chat, there's nothing false about that statement. It's kind of like I drove through Utah a while back, and it looks like pictures of Mars in certain places, like the red canyons and stuff. And I'm like, if I'm going to travel all this way, I guess I would want to play with the gravity. That would be fun. I think the anti-gravity, or the fact that I would weigh less, that would be fun. Like I could get back to that, but if it was the same gravity, no. Also it's not that interesting. Yeah. To the ISS point, though, I do recall seeing some news recently about there potentially being more commercial flights happening, because we had Inspiration 4 recently, which was the first commercial flight in a while. I feel like I read somewhere that they were looking at putting a commercial module on the space station itself, which would be very interesting.
Yeah, if they want to make money, rich people will go. We've proven that. So, it's interesting. Okay, well,
I was just going to say, Josh in chat, as far away as I can safely get from Matt. Josh, I love you too.
Yes. Matt is scary. Can confirm. Raphael asks, did we watch Apollo 13? He's like, yeah, I did. That's why I don't go. That's like I watched Tom Hanks struggle to put his spaceship back together. Like I don't need to see that again. Sunrise every 45 minutes from the ISS. Yeah, well,
That sounds right, because it orbits however many times a day.
it takes 92 minutes to orbit for the ISS to orbit the Earth. One full orbit's not.
Therefore, you'd see a sunrise every half orbit.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
that would mess with my biological clock. I feel like I would just get into some weird rhythms.
Yeah, as I don't actually know. I've never looked into what their sleeping pattern is up there, but I would guess it's probably like 8 hours awake and then sleeping.
I imagine, or they do something like, I imagine they're sleeping in a room with no windows.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier when you don't have to worry about windows.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we jump into some news?
Yes. Here we go into the news. As you know, it is our time for our weekly news segment where we talk about all the latest releases and new things in the news. And we have a really exciting release for today that I will bring up before Matt brings up anything else. Or if Matt just wants to bring up the PDocs page, that works.
Yes, I can bring up the PDocs
So,
page.
DigitalOcean launched new improved load balancers. And I will wait for Matt to bring up the... I'm holding my horses.
Hold your horses.
The horses are held.
Is it on this page?
It's the main PDocs page has been updated.
Cool.
So.
There you go. Pull it up.
Okay. You got it. There we go. So we have our new load balancers, which we will be talking about in depth later in the program. I'll be doing a lightning tutorial where we're going to spin one up and just look at what's different. But the main thing you have to know now is, so DigitalOcean's old, like if you've been around for the evolution of load balancers at DigitalOcean, you remember the time when there was just the load balancer. Like you had a load balancer, it got a certain amount of transactions per second, and that was it. And then we went, it doesn't feel that long ago. I feel like it was less than a year ago, maybe a little bit more. Time's a flat circle, and it's messing with my brain. But we had moved into a 3-module type. So we had small, medium, large load balancers, each with their own TPS. Mm-hmm. Well, now this is the next evolution of it. So now we have created what we're calling load balancer nodes, which basically you can add up to 100 load balancers, each one getting you 10,000 more requests per second, 10,000 more simultaneous connections, and 250 SSL connections per second. So whereas the older models, like if you got the large, you were paying $60 a month and you got so much. Now you can, if you want, maybe you didn't want a large, maybe you were a little bit more than a medium, but you didn't quite need the large. Now you can kind of get in the middle, and you can get ridiculous amounts going up to, I think, 1 million connections per second now. With your 100 nodes, if that's 100 times 10,000 is my math correct. Yes, it is. So we have new load balancers here, and I will be doing a quick demo of them later. And then in December, I will be doing a full tech talk on load balancers. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And that's not just, that's like load balancers, like from the ground up, like what is a load balancer? And then we're going to go through all the different ways you can use one. So that'll be a fun tech talk too.
There you go. New load balancers.
New load balancers.
The thing that is important to clarify, because I think there was some confusion when this got launched, was that load balancer nodes are their own thing.
Yes.
They're not tied to whatever you're load balancing. They are just the nodes for the load balancer themselves.
Yes, so it's your charge per load balancer node. You can still so say you could have 3 load balancer nodes getting you 30,000 connections per second and 10 droplets behind that. You're not charged for the 10 droplets in the load balancer part. Obviously, you're paying for the droplets separately, but there's not a connection charge. Like, if you connect this, you get, no, that doesn't exist. It's you pay for the individual LB nodes and then they distribute your traffic. Which is cool. I love our load balancers, to be honest. They're it was a product that I didn't really learn about until I started working here. And then once I started working here and playing with them, I actually love them. Joe asks, can we load balance across other data centers? I do not believe so, but I will take that back to the team and let them know this is something that people are interested in. I always love hearing your product feedback. I go and ignore the PMs. You can ask them. I'm very annoying. So... Okay, well that's the new load. Yeah.
Or you can always post that on the Q&A site and someone will get back to you there with a public answer.
Yes. So our next one, we'll move off of the DO stuff. We don't get to do DO releases that often, so it's pretty cool that we got to today. Let's move into the next one of an interpreted language release. Ruby 3.1.0 preview is released, and I swear Ruby 3 just came out.
Yeah, it feels pretty. Yeah.
Like, I feel like we went forever on the old. I don't know. I don't pay attention enough to the Ruby version, but it looks like there's a new preview. Anything interesting that they're adding to
Big
3.1?
headline item is that there's a new compiler.
Oh, they have a JIT compiler now?
Yes, so there's now YJIT instead of MJIT.
Oh,
I haven't read
okay.
into it beyond knowing that that's a thing. But my understanding would be that it's faster, as things generally are when they're in releases. It looks like here in benchmarks, which we all know aren't always representative of the real world, it's faster.
Yeah. And it looks like they have a new debugger too. If you scroll down, debug gem, a new debugger.
A new debugger. What else we got? Better errors and backtraces.
Yeah, see, Python just added that. Like, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
IRB improvement.
IRB being improved as always.
And then some just language stuff that I'm not going to understand.
Language stuff. There you go.
Yeah.
Preview release. Go play with it.
Preview release. It'll be out in a little while, I assume. Our next one is out of the world of red pandas.
Yeah.
So Firefox is in the Windows Store.
We've talked about Firefox recently, and how it's playing with Windows. So I was surprised to see this when it turned up in the news. But yeah, this is an article by The Verge reporting that Mozilla's Firefox is now available to download from the Windows Store directly instead of downloading it as an exe.
There's a lot of things going that way. Like, a lot of things are starting to take advantage of the Windows Store, which I guess, makes it easier. It makes it easier for the public, and anything you can do to make things easier for your community benefits your community.
Yeah, I'll say it was just surprising to me, considering that Microsoft's store is so proprietary that they're allowing things like this in it. I don't know, it felt very wrong, but at the same time, I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, we'll see how long it lasts before it gets taken down.
Yeah, I'll say it says here also Opera's now available there, but Chrome isn't yet. So stay tuned for Chrome, I would guess.
Interesting. Okay. The next one is another Microsoft release. .NET 6 has been released.
Yeah, this is I think I'm not a .NET developer, so sorry I can't speak to this too much in detail, but having seen my Twitter timeline when this got announced, feels like this is a pretty significant milestone for .NET. .NET 6 being released and available immediately. So, yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
I'm reading through here.
Yeah,
HTTP
it looks interesting.
being supported. That's pretty cool. Looks like there's more support for JSON.
Mathematics. Ooh, we can do math in .NET now.
Couldn't before.
I know. I'm being a troll.
Yeah, I'll say, and as I said before, as with every release of everything, performance is better. It looks like we supported for 3 years, which is pretty neat. So there you go.
Yeah, have fun, .NET people.
Yeah.
Angular version 13 is available.
I'll be honest, I'd kind of forgotten that Angular was still a thing that was still going. But yeah, Angular 13 is now available. You can get it immediately running ng update in the standard way to update Angular. It feels like they have a new rendering engine of sorts.
I wonder if this release is faster too.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I don't write Angular. I'm very much, it's not my thing. But yeah, it feels like, again, a load of improvements to rendering. Big one here, IE 11's going away.
Ooh, spicy.
It isn't surprising because I feel like Vue and React both dropped it recently, or maybe it was just Vue. I can't remember. So yeah, your bundles will be smaller now because there's no polyfills.
Awesome. That's cool that we have. Yeah, I always forget Angular's a thing until I realize that it's actually still relatively popular and gets quite a bit of traffic. So
yeah. So it's like it's one of those frameworks you forget about, but it's there still. Definitely.
Our next one is Tor 11.0 is released. So this is going to be interesting. So, they have a Tor. Do they have a Tor browser now? Well, I think they've always had the Tor browser, right?
Given this is release 11, yes. I think they've had Tor browser for a while.
Yeah, I've never used it. I use Brave, and Brave has an embedded incognito with Tor browser, and I'll use that on occasion because it is kind of useful sometimes whenever you want to
test. Like it's a great testing tool if you're like, is it my IP address? Like, am I being blocked by something? You know?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Tor is built on Firefox, unlike Brave, which is built on Chromium. So Firefox recently had a lot of UI updates, which you can see in my window currently because I'm running Firefox. And Brave is obviously Tor is updating to the new Firefox base, so it gets a new redesign as part of that. I think they've also kind of updated their own UI on top to be more aligned with what Firefox is doing now. So yeah,
nice. It's good to see. It's a good tool, and it's an important tool for a lot of reasons that we won't go into today. That can be a spicy topic. Denoflare is published. So is this another thing with the cute little dino or Dino? Is it Denoflare? Is it Denoflare?
So, yeah, this is what I was debating because you've said Deno consistently, and I say Dino consistently. I don't know which is correct.
Dino was the dinosaur in the Flintstones, and it was spelled Dino.
Yes,
just saying. Now, I'm not saying that there can't be more than one spelling, but to me, it's Deno. But if they want to call it Dino, that's fine. I'm not going to complain about it. Like, actually, Dino's a better name, but my brain just reads it as Deno. So
yeah, I don't know. I've no idea which is correct. But either way, Denoflare. You may have heard of MiniFlare if you've been working with Cloudflare Workers at all. It's the node-based runtime that simulates Cloudflare Workers locally. Because obviously Cloudflare Workers runs in a proprietary environment in Cloudflare's data centers, and you can't emulate it locally. So someone made MiniFlare to emulate locally, and someone's now written Denoflare to do the same thing locally, but written in Deno rather than Node.
And now that Matt switched to saying Deno, I'm going to say Dino. We're just going to keep this. We're going to keep this. We're going to keep this spicy. So
there you go. Yeah, I say much like MiniFlare, it aims to emulate all of Cloudflare's Workers runtime environment locally, so that you can develop offline.
Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic. And now we're out of releases and we're moving into the, I guess, open source news section. WSL2 can now mount Linux ext4 disks directly. So yeah, it looks like now, I guess this is, I've never really looked too much at like what disks it can mount. I as a staunch WSL2 user, I just use the Ubuntu that the Windows Store gives me.
See, I put this in here for you because I know you do a lot of WSL2 stuff. And I was like, oh, Mason's going to be able to talk about this.
Nope, I don't touch the mounting. I mean, I guess it's good because I know that like ext3 is getting kind of old, and ext4 is pretty cool. So it's nice to be able to. I'm just trying to read it. Yeah, it looks like it's just an interesting little mount thing. I guess that makes sense. I guess if you're dual booting Linux,
yeah,
and you have a separate partition,
and you want to mount that when you're running Windows.
And ext4 is like the default for most of the new operating systems. I do know that like Fedora 35 is default is BTRFS, and that's causing a couple of interesting issues. But yeah, I guess that's cool. They're continually adding newer and better things. Like I think it wasn't that long ago they added X forwarding support to WSL2. So the fact that they're constantly iterating on it and making it better, it's made it like Windows is my primary development machine, and I don't need a Mac anymore. Which is nice, because I don't like giving my money to one place. I like spreading the love.
But I don't know. I think either way, like this is cool to see that when WSL is getting more kind of, I guess, compatibility with raw Linux.
Yeah. I'm just waiting until they announce that they've replaced the Windows kernel with the Linux kernel.
It'll happen, I'm sure.
I'm waiting for the day. And our next one comes out of the land of old processors. DirectX 12 applications no longer work on 4th generation Intel processor. Wow. Well, 4th gen is pretty old, right? Like that's like what?
Yeah.
Like
old.
Sandy Lake?
Old.
Yeah.
By the way, Intel, if you're watching, just a heads up that you put working in your title, not working. just a heads up.
Just a heads up. We found a typo.
Yeah, I don't know. This seems like a pretty insignificant one, unless you're running an older processor, or running very DirectX 12 specific things, because DirectX does tend to be quite version specific for a lot of stuff. It's made it very high up Hacker News, which is very interesting because it seemed like a very insignificant thing. But yeah, heads up, if you have a 4th generation Intel processor, DirectX 12 may not work for you anymore. And you start building.
Yeah, like, so my PC I built in 2017, and it's a 7th generation. It's like a 7700 series. So you go back like 3-4 years. So you're talking 2013, 2014 processors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a miracle they've lasted this long.
Quite around, so yeah.
You're coming through a little robot-y there.
Oh dear.
Okay, now it sounds better.
Cool.
Weird. Okay, next story. Comcast suffers multiple major outages.
Yeah, this was an interesting one to see happen. It's not much to say really, other than that Comcast had one outage in California, and then a few hours later had a secondary outage in a completely different region. Which, in both cases, Cloudflare being the guardians of the internet at this point, were quick to report on it. And I love this little graphic here that John posted that just shows the very apparent drop as the outage occurred. But yeah, if you had internet troubles and you're using Comcast or Xfinity in the last few days, that'll be why.
Makes sense. The next one comes out of YouTube, Land of YouTube. YouTube is updating it to remove dislike counts. So you can still dislike videos, but the count doesn't show up on the internet anymore.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So the dislike button will still stay, and clicking it still works, and the creator of the video can see the count still, but as a user, you can't see the count anymore. And I don't think this is a good idea. I think in a lot of senses, I see why they're doing it. They're doing it from a perspective of YouTube dislikes get used to bully certain creators and stuff. But at the same time, dislikes also get used as a valid metric for judging whether a video is good. Like, say you're looking up a tutorial on how to do something. Being able to see the number of dislikes on a video is going to very quickly tell you, is this video useful for me to watch to figure out this thing?
Yeah, this is interesting. Like, I understand the problem they're trying to solve, but I don't know if they will have made more problems by trying to solve it this way.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. This next one is one that I can actually talk about because I've been very closely watching this. So if you haven't heard, there has been a successful removal of the Gill in Python. Now it's in an old version and there's a lot that has to happen. But so if you are unaware of the Gill, Python has what's known as the global interpreter lock because of the way that Python handles reference counting and garbage collection. You cannot run global like Python in multi-process, like in the same process, multiple threads of it without it getting wonky. So all Python code is serial code unless you're running separate individual processes and then doing stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But now they've finally been able to, someone's been able to remove it and actually gain performance because people have been I swear every year at PyCon there's a what's up with the Gill talk. Like there's two things certain in this world. The sun rises in the east and there'll be a talk about the Gill at PyCon. Like these are what happen all the time. And finally, we have someone who was able to do it. Now they did it on an old version of 3.9, like not even 3.9 stable, like 3.9, I think it was like 3.9 alpha 0. So that's kind of rough. I've heard that like a lot of the features they implemented have already been implemented into Python, and the core developers are discussing it. They haven't decided if they actually want to do it. If you say the word Python 4 in front of the core developers, they shrivel up and cry. Because as those of you that have been around for the Python 2 to 3 launch wasn't the best. So what does this mean? It means the core devs are going to look at it. Hopefully we'll get it. I imagine that we will get it eventually. Does this mean we'll get a Python 4.0? I don't know. It's a possibility, but I know that they're very hesitant about bumping up that version just because the 2 to 3 was just
horrendous.
Yeah.
It's in textbooks now.
It does feel though that removing Gill would be a major change that would necessitate Python 4 or putting it behind a flag.
I would think that too. That actually might be what happens is they may put it behind a flag for a while, and then eventually, if they do Python 4 in the future, they may do it.
So like 3.12 has a -- disable Gill flag or something.
Yeah. Or just has they'll probably do it behind an enable flag, to be honest. Like normally new features that go behind flags in Python are off by default. The thing is like a lot of people complain about the Gill. Very few people will ever actually benefit from it being gone. Like we'll benefit from a faster Python, sure. But most people who have ever run into this issue have had their concurrency issues handled by the Gill. They just didn't know it. And race conditions are super fun.
Yes, so
you have to
deal
deal
with. The Gill
with
exists means that you never have a race condition, essentially.
Yes. You can get into some deadlock issues, but you won't give like a data race. So in reality, I feel like this is a big step forward for the data science community. But for those of us that write like web apps and stuff, we've been using WSGI or ASGI and multi-pro, and that's been fine forever. So I'm curious to see like what kind of speed performances it'll get. I'm sure this will be the buzz at PyCon next year, which is great because it's our first in-person version back, and I am so going to that. I've missed my community a lot, so keep your eyes open. Don't worry about it now. If you do want to play with it, you can go to the CPython branch and download the no Gill branch and compile it and run it. It is an old version of 3.9, so some of the latest features won't be there, but it does work.
I'll be really curious to see if any companies come out and say that they're running that.
I would, but so GIL-less Python already exists. Like we have MyPy, we have Iron Python, we have Jython.
Yeah.
Which I've often thought that we should run Python in the JVM because the JVM is brilliant for interpreted languages, and you can I don't know if it's really the case anymore, but like whenever one of my best friends started at Amazon back in like 2013, like everything there was JRuby, and they were just squeezing performance out of JRuby on the scale I didn't think was possible. So there's a lot. I could sit here and talk about the future of Python forever, but unfortunately we have to go on to the next set of news, which is how we go. We're back to our space news. So we'll let Matt
bringing
talk about
back
space.
The old tradition. This is why we were talking about space in our Hello World question today. We used to have a tradition on the show of having a bit of space news at the end of each news section. We haven't done it for a few weeks because there was a lull in space activity, but we're back at it again. So on Monday night, Crew 2 returned from space after 6 months in orbit, which was a pretty long time. So all 4 of them returned safely. There was a slight issue during the descent. One of the main parachutes failed to open for 75 seconds, I think, but did open, and the capsule did actually touch down with 4 full chutes out. So that was fine. They're all back and safe. And then last night, Crew 3 launched. So within a couple of days of Crew 2 returning, Crew 3 are on their way up to space. I think if they haven't already, they're docking in the next few hours after launching last night. So yeah, there you go. SpaceX is keeping us alive on the ISS.
Yeah, there is a long history about interesting things when it comes to space. And basically if you look at the history of it as a country, as the United States, I don't know how space programs work in other countries, but we get into like this burst of space, like we're going to do it, and all of this innovation, like the space race in the 60s, and then a tragedy happens, and we stop for 20 years, and then we slowly ramp back up, and then a tragedy happens. Like I was there when I remember the day Columbus exploded. Like I was in 4th grade, and like we had to have like a talk about it with like our teachers and stuff about like what was going on and all of that. That was like the year after 9/11 too. I had a weird. People wonder why millennials were so weird. 3rd grade, 9/11. 4th grade, Columbus. But I remember that, and like it basically we stopped doing space travel for a very long time, and now it took us 20 years. Yeah, exactly 20 years before we start finally getting back into it. So hopefully we don't repeat the cycle.
Yeah, I feel like we've now got the advantage of 20 years of modern technology on top of that.
Yes. But
And
at
the
the
fact
same
that it's
time,
also-
I'm also terrified of modern technology because
true. I think also the fact that it's commercial as well, I think changes the game slightly. In some ways, there's almost more regulations now because it's not just NASA themselves doing it. As a commercial company that has to make profit at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is good to have have second pair of eyes. So,
Yeah.
okay, well that's
I
all
would
we
say
have for the
if
news.
you want to catch the next Falcon 9 launch, there's one happening tomorrow, I think as well.
These are happening out of Texas, right?
No, these are happening out of Cape.
Okay, yeah. I need to go like they do a lot of like Elon does a lot of his test stuff out of Texas, and I still need to go down there and go watch one.
Yeah, Starship's down in Texas.
Starship, yeah. So anyway, that's all we have for the news. We're gonna take a quick, I mean like 20-second break, and we'll be right back. And we're back. I told you it was going to be quick. And it's time for another game of True or False. So everyone go ahead and go to kahoot.it and enter in the game pin 902-8287. For those of you that are new to the show, True or False is our weekly game where I pose true or false questions to my co-hosts. And by co-host this week, I mean Matt. He has to tell me if they're true or false, but everyone can play along. And the winner gets a Sammy sticker pack. And if you're Toon Army Captain and you've won 5 times, I'll just send you something else.
Look at that. Avnish turning up in chat just in time for True or False.
You know, we're a little bit early today. So, like, normally we True or False at around like the 45, 50-minute mark. So we're running a little early today. But
I'm convinced you must just like have the show like super small on the screen somewhere, just waiting for True or False to pop up.
That's fine with me. I know it's a fun section, so go ahead and do True or False. And since Kim won't be back with us till season 2, which is next year.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. I will handle the word of the week this week. So Matt, do you have the fancy overlay? Word of the week this week is load balancer. So what is a load balancer? Like I said, this is our load balancer day because of what we're doing with DigitalOcean's load balancer launch. So at a high level, a load balancer basically distributes traffic to a group of servers, which decouples the overall health of your service from the health of a single server to ensure that your services always stay online. So if you think about it in, like, you have a person up front who's taking all the requests. That is the load balancer. This load balancer then shuttles the requests to the servers on the back end. So I could have like one load balancer and say 3 droplets behind said load balancer. If one of those droplets were to go down, the load balancer will detect this very quickly and then just keep sending traffic to the 2 that are up. Whereas in another instance, say I only had 1 droplet, my personal website's on a droplet, and it goes down, people might lose it. So load balancers are very, very useful when availability and reliability are a concern for you. So load balancer, that's the word of the week. Matt, you got anything to add?
I don't really. I don't know. Looking at all the different policies that load balancers can have is always really fun and fascinating.
Yes, the way that they can forward data, keep alive sticky sessions. If you are unaware, the DigitalOcean load balancers also can provision your SSL certs for you and update them, which is always fun. Yes, you can use our load balancers to create an SSL cert and secure your load balancer. And then like we handle that using CertBot. Yes, CertBot. They changed their. I always used to call them Let's Encrypt. So it's CertBot on the back end.
Let's Encrypt still. The company still Let's Encrypt. CertBot's the automation that does it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Someone in chat, please correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah. Oh well, we need to check and see where your 5th package is, Toon Army Captain, because I assume that I sent it to you, but maybe yes, he's won a lot. Will I be correct if I say load balance a high throughput reverse proxy?
Yeah, essentially. It's a reverse proxy, but will reverse proxy to multiple origins, if that makes sense.
Yes. Like reverse proxy, you tend to use those when you have multiple websites running on one server, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have like a lot of Apache virtual hosts.
Well, like, I don't know, a really simple example is you put Nginx in front of a Ruby application, and your Ruby application runs on like port 3000 in an isolated environment, and you have Nginx proxy it through.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like that, but with multiple destinations that it can proxy to, and it rotates through them.
Yes, and this is done at the hardware level.
Yes.
It's a hardware device that does this. So yeah, I think we'll give it another. We've got, how many people do we have? We only have 7 people. It's going to be a really easy competition.
Get some stickers this week. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I normally we're up to like 10 or 11. So if you haven't, go to Kahoot.it. The game pin is 902-8287. And you can join. And this week's theme is you can ask Matt. We're gonna have some. I've already written the rest of the years, so this one's not bad.
Concerned.
It's the ones in the future that are going to get progressively worse. This week it's gonna be a little bit tough. It is Distributed and Parallel Systems Edition.
Ooh. Okay.
Yes, this one's gonna be fun. There are 8 people here. I will give it another minute, but if not, we're just gonna move on.
I mean, we can jump in. Like, people can always join
you're
after
right.
It starts.
You can always join
Magic
after
Kahoot.
it starts.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna go ahead and go. Keep joining in. You want these stickers? I know you do.
Okay, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know how well I'm gonna do.
Yeah, this one will be interesting for sure. Here we go. The process of getting nodes in a distributed cluster to agree, such as time synchronization, is known as the consensus. Okay, I had to shorten this one because Kahoot is a thing. So the process of getting nodes in a distributed cluster to agree with each other, such as a time synchronization, is known as consensus. This is true. Everyone got that. I didn't even have to repeat it twice. So yes, this is a consensus where they all come to a thing, or I guess a consensus.
I think the tech behind how that gets,
people are pressing the button. Oh, you're doing your
valid way to play Kahoot. Okay,
that's fine. You're going to be really upset with me when I have a week of all false. Next question. When the made node in a cluster goes down, the secondary nodes will decide which will be promoted. This is known as coronation. Also, this week's gifts are bears.
I'm all for it.
Yes. It's just bears this week. Ooh, we have someone taking their time. This is false, and if you spam them buttons, it ain't gonna work. So this is known as leader election, which I guess coronation is a synonym, but I thought I was being clever.
You're being pedantic. This is a very Mason question.
This is a very Mason question, yes. Okay, silly raccoon is just spam. Okay,
but
we'll see.
Everyone else climbing up the leaderboard. Nice.
Yes. Oh, Toon Army Captain says I'll bear with that. Boo! Only I get to make terrible jokes. Next question. The indefinite postponement of access for a process to resources that it has requested is known as deadlock. That sounds so...
Did you intentionally make this really, really complicatedly?
I feel like I might have been in a bad mood yesterday. This is false, okay? The indefinite postponement of action. This is not that it can't get it. This is that other people are getting it. This is known as starvation. The deadlock is something else, but this is where it, like, maybe this process wants access to this file, but it's never getting scheduled and everyone's getting scheduled above it because it's low priority. This is starvation. Deadlock is a thing, but it has a different definition. Well, that was just a boring move.
That didn't go well for everyone.
Nope. When two different processes write to a variable at indeterminate times during their execution, this is known as this is called a seg fault. So when two different processes write to a variable at indeterminate times, so these are processes that are running and they are sharing the variable during their execution, is this called a seg fault? Good. People got this. This is false. This is known as a data race or a race condition, when you don't know who is going to access the variable first. And if you're not doing it safely, you can get one of my favorite errors, which is the read, write error, where people can read and then you get completely out of date data. So process 1 would read, process 2 would read, process 1 would update, process 2 should technically have read that update, but it didn't, so it has the same result.
Yeah.
If you've never had to debug race conditions and this is a level. It's torture.
I'm jaded because for 2 years, Hacktoberfest had a real race condition problem where we'd give the same coupon code to multiple people.
Did you ever figure out why?
Yeah, Rails is just really bad at locking. So, I rewrote it this year.
Oh my goodness. Silly Raccoon at 3,000. It's
timing.
It's an interesting.
I should say the thing.
Say the thing.
Say the thing. Okay. Kahoot is not just about getting it right. As you can see from the leaderboard, people have different scores. That's done by pressing the buttons faster. So you got to get it right, but get it right fast.
Yes. It may work out in your benefit. It may not. We will see. And we have true or false for season 1, but season 2 may introduce multiple choice. A semaphore. I'm just making my mind. A semaphore is used to prevent concurrent access to critical sections of code in concurrent systems. A semaphore is used to prevent concurrent access to critical sections of code and not in concurrent systems. Wow, that's hard to say.
You've got some very wordy questions this week.
Yes. Well, distributed systems is a wordy thing. Let's be honest. This is true. Okay, Silly Raccoon at 4,000. This is interesting.
Well. The guessing is going well. I like it.
Yeah. Deadlock can happen when two processes request access to a resource that the opposite process has locked. And if you've given up, there's two bears wearing harnesses going down a slide.
I think participating in this quiz purely for the gifts is a valid choice here.
Yes, it is. Oh, Silly Raccoon got it again. Okay. We've got these thousands. I don't like it. I'm like, you shouldn't just be. But anyway, I'll get over it. That's just me. Yes, this is true. Deadlock is when process A gets a lock on, let's say A gets a lock on C, B gets a lock on D. So they're both holding it, and then they request each other's things. They can't unlock. Now we are in deadlock. Yeah, because there is nothing there is nothing happening. Deadlock usually ends in, have you tried turning it on and back off again?
Yep.
So,
yeah.
After you fork a process, the child process will not have access to the same environment variables that the parent did. So after you fork a process, will the child process have access to the same variables? It says the child process will not. So, fun question, right?
Yeah, it's just there's far too many words this week.
This is false. The child has complete access to an exact copy of the environment that it has. However, it is not the same page table. It's a complete copy of the page table. So you'll have different points in memory, but it is a direct copy of the page table.
Makes sense.
Silly Raccoon, 5987. Ha!
I told you it's about pressing it fast.
It is. The time it takes for data to be transferred between its original source and its destination is bandwidth. We are about to talk about Mason's pet peeve. Is the time it takes for data to be transferred between its original source and its destination called bandwidth? And most of you are correct, and I appreciate that. This is false. It is called latency. The amount of times I've had to explain to people that your bandwidth does not equal your speed, and then I realize that it doesn't matter because they're not going to listen anyway.
Yeah.
Latency is the speed. Bandwidth is the amount. Is the amount that can be delivered. So if you think about it, bandwidth is the speed limit on the highway, latency is the speed limit on the highway. Bandwidth is the amount of lanes on the highway. The reason that it looks like things come to you quicker whenever you have a gigabit line is not because it moved any quicker. It's because more of it was shipped to you in a quicker fashion. This is the hill I will die on.
Yeah.
Because it's true, but
feels like you want to die on.
It is. People don't understand it. So it's fine. I'm not going to argue with it.
I love this analogy here. Bandwidth is your voltage. Latency is your currents.
If I knew anything about electricity, I would agree with you.
Yes.
But I imagine that it's true. Oh,
yeah,
looks like Silly Raccoon fell and Super Eagle's up, but so is Zany Gecko.
What's the name?
What's her name? That's a new one. I don't think we've seen Zany yet. So next question. When multiple processes have access to the same location in memory, this is known as shared memory. That bear is scratching his back. Oh, everyone got it. Fantastic. There is no quicker way to cause yourself massive amounts of grief than to write shared memory programs. This is where if you don't know how to lock your door, someone's gonna break in and rob you, because it's so, like, you can get such fun bugs with this one. Zany Gecko up at the top, Super Eagle, Silly Raccoon. Final question, and it's anybody's game. Decentralized is the same as distributed. I love that. I'm glad that this one's the final one. This one's simple. This is false. Is decentralized the same as distributed? This is false. Decentralized systems are technically distributed, but the whole decentralized system is not owned by one actor. Oops, Silly Raccoon came back up to third, Super Eagle, but is it the Zany Gecko at the top? It's Zany Gecko.
9 out of 10.
With 9 out of 10. And, this just goes to show you that even though Zany Gecko wasn't getting like the 1,000 points, by getting them right quickly, it did pay off in the end. Sorry, Silly Raccoon and Super Eagle. You'll have to come back next week and try again. Zany Gecko, send me an email at Mason. No, that's my own email. Mason at DigitalOcean. I don't care which one you send it to. Mason at DigitalOcean.com with your shipping information. So you are allowed. So you can't. Sorry, I get distracted by chat questions. So you send it with your shipping information and a screenshot of this, so I can send you a Sammy sticker pack. Was it you again, Toon Army Captain?
No, Toon Army Captain said he got second.
Oh, okay, good. Yes,
So
only first wins. Only first wins this time. You know what? We may keep around, maybe for the final episode of the season or something. We may do top 3. So,
wait,
but
will you just go over the strategy of pressing one button instantly? You got you got dead on 8,000.
Someone did, yeah. Okay, you have enough stuff, Toon Army Captain. You're good.
Nice.
Oh, that's going to bug me. Okay, and now we are moving into our lightning tutorial, which we have not done one of these in a while, so it's kind of fun to be able to do it. Let's go ahead and bring my screen up. So today we are going to talk about the load balancers. It's our theme this week has been load balancers. So let's talk about the new load balancer. So currently I have 3 droplets. Okay. Each droplet basically just says, and I should have made this header 1. It basically says what the name of the droplet is and what its IP address is. So this will help us whenever we're doing our load balancer stuff. So our load balancer, as we said earlier, you create one single load balancer or a group of node of load balancers, and then that will distribute the traffic amongst the 3. So if I come here and let's say I go to create, I go to load balancers. San Francisco. I always do it in SFO3. The load balancer has to exist in the same region as the droplet, so it tells you have droplets in SFO3. So how many of these do we want? So we could create just one. That would be the smallest load balancer. These are $10 a month. But as you can see, as I click up, the number gets larger all the way to my max, which is 100 load balancers, and I could do 1 million simultaneous connections. I am not going to do that today because I do not want the PMs to get mad at me. So we're going to go with 1, but the cool thing is if you need more, you up the number, and you can also come back at any time and up the number after the fact, and it just adds more connections. Brilliant. I love it. So let's go ahead and go with our cloud droplets. So Cloud Chats 01, Cloud Chats 02, and we'll go with Cloud Chats 03. Our forwarding rules are we're just going to forward port 80 to port 80. So if you were doing this with HTTPS, you would obviously forward 80 HTTPS. You can do what's known as SSL termination. So you could technically host your droplets internally on 80 and then have the HTTPS terminate at the load balancer. So it would come in HTTPS to the load balancer, and then the load balancer would speak to them via HTTP. This is helpful because then, well, it really actually depends on your application. Do you want your web servers decrypting HTTP traffic, or do you want to dedicate that to the load balancer?
Yeah, I was saying it also means you don't in that situation you only have to worry about having an SSL cert on the load balancer rather than all your origins.
Yes.
I assume you can also do self-signed between origin and load balancer, and it will work that way as well.
I've never tried that actually. So I know that the load balancers use the VPC network. So it's like we have our VPCs now. So it's using the private network. So it is a little bit more, it's more secure in that way. So let's go ahead and create the load balancer. These can take a little bit of time. So I guess we'll go ahead and chat. So what it's going to do now is it's going to create our load balancer. You see here, it says status collecting. It's doing a health check. It's checking to see if the web server is up. And if the web server is up, it will eventually come here and say, yes, I am healthy. And as the load balancer stands up, these do take a little bit of time to stand up. So we can talk about it for now.
Can we look at kind of what health check settings are available?
Let's take a look-see. Yes.
Okay, so it's just hitting the root URL.
Yes. And I imagine I could change this if I could edit it, but I cannot. Well, actually, let's just go like we're going to pretend like we're creating another one and we'll just look at it. Because we can look at all of the stuff there. So, health checks. So yes, you can do a TCP check across any port you want, or an HTTP check.
Okay, so you can ping it, or you can actually do is the web server responding?
Yeah, you can also set your threshold, like what interval. This is I hadn't seen this before. What response timeout? Like when should you quit? At one point do we call it unhealthy? At what point do we call it healthy? And then this is where we can do redirect HTTP to HTTPS. I love this. This is my favorite checkbox on the internet. It also exists in certbot. It is 2021. There is no excuse for HTTP.
Very true.
You can also enable proxy protocol. You can do backup keep alives.
Sweet.
Yeah, no, our load balancers are sweet. Sticky sessions, which are pretty good. You can basically will handle the cookie for you. Which is that way if you're routing to different service, like if you like say I log in, say I have 3 Django apps and I go to one, I would be always routed to that one throughout my session.
Oh, so in theory, you can not worry about having all 3 Django apps talk to one, say, memcached or whatever.
Yes.
So they don't have to synchronize their own sessions.
Yes. Awesome. I have a couple of notes from our PM. So whenever we're terminating the SSL on the load balancer, this will allow the load balancer CPU to decrypt the payload, which we talked about before, which means you're saving the CPU on the backend droplets. I think we had mentioned that. For those of you that don't know, HTTP, like decryption and encryption is not cheap. And by cheap, I mean, like when I say cheap, I mean not cheap as in money, but like when we refer to computationally cheap processor cycles, it's an expensive operation. So having someone else offload that off your web servers will give you more performance on your backend droplets. And then, he basically said all these. Yes, the traffic from the load balancer does go over the VPC. He sent me a message and then I forget about stream delay. So maybe I already missed this, but yes, your load balancer droplets go over the VPC, which is fully isolated from the third party. So only things within the VPC can see the traffic, which is just good security practice. Like the fact that we do that for you by default and we don't because there's some other providers that you have to configure that. And if you don't, it doesn't work the way you think it should. And that's not good.
Now, our VPCs are now enabled by default, which is really nice.
Yes. Okay. So we have our load balancer up. Let's go ahead and take a look. Everybody's healthy. So if I go to this IP address, okay, so it'll tell me this IP address. We're going to zoom in. But if I refresh this, if I hard refresh this page, we will see that I'm round robining.
No, is it round robining?
It wasn't there for
random, I think.
So it does round robin.
Round robin.
Is somebody else hitting this?
I don't know. Who knows?
Somebody else might be touching this. Could be like. So it does.
It is. Do our load balancers do a strict round robin?
It does. You can select the algorithm. So whenever you're doing in your settings, I know it's here. I've seen this before.
Is it?
I thought it was.
Is it? I don't see it. That's what I was asking. Like,
oh, they don't have it on the new load balancers. I'm thinking of something else. So yeah, it's just load balancing for you. You used to be able. It doesn't matter. Most people don't. Algorithm is not something that most people.
Algorithms are not something people need to worry about.
No, that's super.
Your load gets balanced. It does what it says on the tin.
Exactly. Okay, so we're good. Ooh, it says according to our PM, it does a smart load balancing.
Makes
sense. Yeah. So now the cool thing is if I were to take one of these droplets, so let me take this drop. Let me go back to my load balancer real quick. And let me just take Cloud Chats 3. I'm going to shut off Nginx.
Oh, yeah, Nuke Nginx.
Yes.
Things you should never do in production.
Okay, so I've stopped it because I want you to see that it's the droplet is still here. But
if you hit the IP address specifically.
Yes. Okay, so it's going to take a little bit of time for it to figure out that
it will try hitting that droplet a couple of times before the health check starts failing.
Yes, the health check. I think we said we set it to every 10 seconds, so that means and it has to fail 3 times before it's considered unhealthy. Yeah. So that means that it'll take us about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on where you land in that window, for it to determine that it is unhealthy. But yeah, like so, if we, as you can see, one of them,
the Nginx is now dead on that one. So
yes, actually now it's, but it looks like it's figured it out. It is not. Yeah, it's figured it out. It's not trying at all to go to 0.3.
I say normally load balancers alongside the health checks will also. They tend to start routing around stuff when they just fail on requests generally.
Yes. So the load balancer has detected that we had a failure, and even if it's not healthy yet, it's like, I don't trust you. So we are at the point now where our load balancer is doing exactly what we expected it to do. Even if it still thinks that it's healthy here, again, we have to wait for these health checks sometimes. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But as we can, like, whether or not the dashboard tells me if it's healthy or not, the fact that the load balancer is already routing around it is the important part. Green dots on a screen don't matter to me. Like they don't. Like what matters is can people access my stuff? So that is the new load balancers. And if I wanted to update it, so this is the one thing that you have to see right now is I can easily just add more. Now you can only resize your load balancer once per hour. So if I up and down, or I think it's actually I don't know, but so you have to wait a full hour. I know that we're probably working on this in some way, shape, or form. But so if you're gonna scale up smartly about that. You know, don't come in here every minute and try to upscale. It's not gonna work for you on that. Oh, up and down, yes, up and down, you can do it, and it's in the improvements to make it go quicker. So. Yeah, that is our new load balancers. And that is our lightning tutorial for today. Super excited. Love it. If I remember correctly, load balancers was our 3rd or 4th product. It was relatively... I don't remember. I don't remember. I remember using DigitalOcean when it was just Droplet. I feel like load balancers are relatively new.
By the way, I feel not new, but yeah. This change makes load balancers even more accessible, so I'm all for it.
Oh, it launched in 2017, so this is a 4-year-old product. But yes, this gives me the flexibility that I need to scale. And as you can see, like they detect the failure really quick. I'm super excited for it. And these load balancers also are the same load balancers that power Kubernetes. So if you're using DOKS and like you're using the load balancers that are associated with that, which I think are done through like kube control and all of that stuff. It's the same thing. It's the exact same load balancers, like just being done on the back end, which is how it should be done. Like if we use our products to build our products, and that's a great way of doing things. So awesome. Well, now that we're done with that, that's going to qualify as our section 4 today. So we're just going to go into our what's on our mind section. So we're wrapping it up. As those of you know, it's going to be a slightly shorter session today. Matt and I were both exhausted.
I have been up till 4 in the morning the last 2 nights, so I am quite happy to have a shorter day today.
Yes, and I have to make a pie later today, so
very nice.
We will talk about that. So, Matt, what's on your mind?
Let me share my screen. Move my screen up. This is a hilarious article that turned up on Hacker News. How Safari ruined my Tuesday, and it comes from a salty front-end developer. If anyone's ever worked with CSS before, you may have come across pointer events as a property that you can set. It just allows you to disable mouse interactions with an element. And for some reason, Safari 15 has a bug around it where if you set pointer events none so that your mouse can't interact with an element, and then you remove it, it doesn't remove. it says it's removed, but you still can't interact with the element. Like Firefox, Safari even just forgets to reattach its own event listeners, essentially, which is quite funny because it caused some real issues from people. Suddenly things were just not working. You'd disable some elements and then you'd re-enable them, but they wouldn't re-enable. This article goes into it. Very simple demo here of prevents none, removing pointer events none, and it's still not working.
Oh no!
Like, feels pretty fundamental thing that has a very, very simple demo, which I love. So yeah.
That's
as
hilarious.
this article points out, though, when you remove the property, everything, like Safari's web inspector and everything, tells you that it's been removed. There is nothing that points to it not still being set other than the fact that you can't click on the element.
That's so weird.
So it's almost like the DOM implementation knows it's been removed, but Safari's UI wrapper isn't registering the click handlers again.
That's gonna be a fun bug for them to debug and figure out how to fix it.
But no, I thought it was funny. I saw it come up. I was like, oh, good. CSS being annoying, as always. Safari being annoying, as always.
Not a lot of things change, do they?
There you go. Anyway, that was what's on my mind, really. Otherwise, I've been just busy at work, so mind blank.
Yeah, I've
What's
been
been on your mind?
I'm busy at work too, but I have to make a pie this afternoon because marketing's doing a holiday. Like, we do these things every now and then where we all hang out together and do a craft or something together. So they've hired a professional chef. I have all the ingredients, and we're gonna get on a Zoom call. We're all gonna bake a pie together, which is not a bad thing. It sounds like fun, but where I lost it is the fact that I have to make a crust. Okay. I can do frozen pie crust, and I might still go pick up a frozen pie crust. Not
Are you saying you're going to cheat? Okay.
I'm not going to cheat. I just know that pie crust is not an easy thing to make. Okay, making a dough is not simple. And for someone who's never done it, it is going to be awful. And I would like if I'm going to spend an hour of my time failing at something, I want to be able to eat the results.
But where's the fun in that?
The fun is in my stomach, Matt. That's where the fun is at. So not only that, but now I have to go clean my kitchen because now I'm paranoid that everyone's gonna be able to see my kitchen. So now I have to go deep clean
there's
that.
Gonna be a marketing team judging you, and it's a marketing team, so most of them are going to have nice kitchens.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that. Oh my goodness. But so I have to make a pie and then just working on stuff. I'm also going to go camping this weekend, which will be fun. I'm going to go out.
What kind of pie is it?
It's a Dutch apple pie.
Okay. That sounds tasty.
Yeah. It's going to be tasty. I mean, they sent me Honeycrisp apples. Those are the best apples. So I'm excited for it. We will see how it works. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I had to go buy my own pie tin and rolling pin because I don't own these things because I don't bake. But we're in it to win it at this point. So I get to make a pie today.
You could tell that you're at the engineering end of the spectrum of marketing.
Yes.
A pie tin and a rolling pin.
Don't have a pie tin. I'm not a baker. My brother bakes. Okay. Yes, Apfelkuchen. Yeah, that's nice German. Yes. My brother bakes, and I used to my brother got into baking in college as a therapeutic way to deal with his computer science courses.
I can relate. Yeah.
Yes. And I asked him why, and he's like, because the carrot peeler never told me, sorry, we don't support carrots version 2.0. And I was like, you are right. He's also like, it's really nice to be able to follow instructions and get the result you expect. And I'm like, you need to stop speaking so much truth right now. We need to stop with this. So Junior Army Captain says rolling pins are dealing with kids.
We cannot endorse that.
We cannot endorse that. We cannot endorse that. But however, rolling pins are fun
And I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. I've been wanting, like, I'm hoping this will break me out of my shell a little bit, because I've been wanting, like, I have a recipe for pretzels that I've had sitting on my, like, authentic German pretzels that I've had sitting on my counter. So maybe if I just get this first bake out of the way, like if I just break the ice with it, maybe I'll be inspired to make some pretzels, because I really want to make some pretzels.
Go for it.
But yeah, that's what's been on my mind. Matt, how much time do you have left in uni?
4 weeks of lectures, I think. I don't know, I've lost track. I just don't turn up anymore. I've fully embraced the fact that I've got very little time left, so I'm just not turning up to lectures anymore. I'm just doing the assignments.
Yeah, as long as you pass and you get out, you're fine. But
yeah,
you know,
so I think I've got 4 more weeks left of lectures, and then like 2 weeks of exams, and then I'm done.
Okay,
exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I remember those times of like getting out, and then you get to realize the rest of your life is the same thing until you die. So,
but
yeah.
At least there's no exams.
True. That's the hardest part. Every time I think about going back to grad school, I'm like, ooh, but then I have to do homework, and
then you get judged.
Yeah. I'm not about this right now, so.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the freedom of not just having like a continual layer of stress on me, knowing that I've got like 5 assignments due. Just gonna have a pile of Jira tickets instead.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Okay, well, moving on to our next thing, we have another quick little video for you, and then we'll talk about it. Deploy is next week. It is next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we will have an after deploy cloud chats, which will be fun. We'll get to talk about what happened and all of that. But if you, Mac,
did Mason I think Mason just closed himself. Oh, well, this is a shame. I feel like Mason was going to ask me to show you the deploy website. So I'll show you the deploy website whilst Mason figures out what he just did.
That was okay. I don't know how I managed to hit that button. Yes, please pull up the deploy website.
I assume that was what you were asking me, and somehow pressing the close button.
And then I managed to I flicked my mouse with my hand, and it perfectly hit the leave studio button, and I was like, well, that's not the button.
There we go. There's the deploy website.
Yes. So deploy next week, November 16th and 17th. You're not going to want to miss this. We have a lot of really cool talks. There's going to be some, we're going to talk about how we built app platform on top of Kubernetes. 3 million apps deployed on a Kubernetes. That's no small feat. Kim will be doing a talk on just getting started with Kubernetes. I think one of our product managers is going to be talking about day 2 Kubernetes. We've spun up a Kubernetes cluster. Now what? So if you've ever been interested in learning the Kubernetes landscape, this is going to be the conference for you. It's 100% free. You get some cool wallpapers we have, you may have seen us have. Color scheme's pretty dope. You always got to go with that. Please sign up for Deploy. You'll have a great time. Tell your friends about Deploy. Yes, free as in beer. Yes, it is free as in beer. According to so yes, it's free as in beer. So come on, it's going to be great. We're hosting, it's 2 days, and they're in different time zones. So the first day is going to be focused primarily on the North American time zone, and the second day is going to be focused on the EMEA APAC time zone. And actually, I was upset because the talks that I want to watch are at 5:50 my time in the morning. And if you think I'm getting up at that time,
but all the talks will be recorded, so you can get them afterwards.
100%. They're always recorded. They'll be uploaded to YouTube after the conference. And yes, sign up for Deploy. It's going to be ahoy. I don't know. I tried. I couldn't think of a rhyming word for deploy. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
no.
So there you go. The Deploy website's up, and I'll also highlight Discord.
Oh, the Discord. Yeah.
Discord is now open, so feel free to jump in and chat with other people there.
Yes. I think I combined myself and Matt and myself And then a lot of other of our community members, if you remember Brian Hogan from the thing, Chris and Kim, will all be in the Deploy Discord. You'll be able to chat with us in various channels. So
Honestly,
join.
most employees at Dio at this point have joined at some point or another. So
Yes. So it's a
We're all
great
in there.
time, great community experience, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you there.
So there you go. Deploy.digitalocean.com. Check it out.
And now it's time for the best part of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the show. It's time for the joke.
Oh no.
Yes, and I've already written out all the jokes for the rest of the year, and they get progressively worse. So
Have
here
you
we
prepped
go.
next year's jokes yet?
I have not. I need to sit down and start prepping next year's jokes. I have a spreadsheet of jokes, and like what one day we'll release the Cloud Chats joke of the day API.
We'll need to do it, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use little honeycombs.
That was less funny and just more. I'm impressed by like the thought process that went into this.
That one's deep in some levels. And if Engen is inviting people to Germany, I will happily come visit you in Germany. I studied abroad there for a while and I loved it. So see you in Germany, but we'll also see you at Deploy Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll see you back here next week for Cloud Chats, where everyone will have another opportunity to win some stickers. Thank you everyone for attending, and we will see you next week at Deploy and in the next episode of Cloud Chats.
See you then.
Have a good day.